Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Cambodia Global Dialogue or Southeast Asia TV. Tonight, I want to focus a bit, as a follow-up to last few discussion, a few dialogue on agriculture. But last time we talked about cassava. Last year, I focused quite a bit on rice. But I think, technology matter. We have some session on technology, but they're more focused on fintech, on fourth industrial revolution. But I think there is a lot of technology that could help support the agricultural sector. And that's why today I have the pleasure to have Sambath, a good friend, and then Marc. And I will give you gentlemen a few minutes each to introduce yourself. Sambath?
Thank you, Excellency. My name is Sambath. I'm a development practitioner. I've been working in this development field for nearly 20 years.
You don't look that old, Sambath.
And I'm an economist by education. So I've been working with projects funded by Asian Development Bank. I'm working for USAID. I'm working for the NIDA, working for the World Bank, and so on for over the last 20 years.
Yes.
And right now I'm working for a project called a Mekong Business Initiative, which is funded by the Government of Australia and Asian Development Bank. And one of the activity under this Mekong Business Initiative, or MBI, is called agriculture, technology for agriculture, or we call MATCH.
Yes. What does MATCH stand for?
So MATCH, it means Mekong Agriculture Challenge. MATCH means Mekong Agriculture, Mekong
Agri-Tech
Challenge. Sorry.
Okay, yes. Good.
So, yeah.
So, Marc?
I came to Cambodia 15 years ago and started to make films in the country, and
Really?
Started to help setting up CTN television station at the time.
Well, you're in Southeast Asia TV. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry, that's why I thought I mentioned that. And recently I've been working in the agricultural business and in the agricultural sector in Cambodia, in Vietnam, in Laos, in Myanmar, in Thailand, Philippines. We're looking with Smart Agro, our company. I do business and communication to set up the startup, and we're working with a lot of people in the network where we work with consultants who have been in the region for many, many years, and of course with Cambodian colleagues and Vietnamese who are from here and have studied agriculture, agronomists, and we are looking into new ways how we can advance the technologies. That doesn't necessarily mean we have a lot of technological gadgets that we're selling, but the way we farm, how can we adapt that in order to advance the farmers' livelihoods and to mitigate the weather, climate change problems and market price fluctuation.
Where are you from, Marc?
Originally I'm from Germany.
Okay, all right. You don't have a German accent. You've been in Cambodia too long.
Maybe.
But gentlemen, thank you so much. I think for me, the challenge for Cambodia agriculture is pretty much that we are an agricultural country. Let's be real about that. You see a lot of things happening in the city, the garment industry, the tourism, the construction boom, everything. But Cambodia is still an agricultural country. You look at the map, you can see vast plain of green there, We're doing quite well in rice. We start moving into cassava, a lot of plantation, rubber plantation, that sort of thing. But, for the farmer, I think the challenge has always been they are at the mercy of the weather. And climate change, some people don't believe in climate change. But I believe that the majority believe the climate change does impact agriculture. And to me, one bad harvest could bring, misery, poverty, destitution to the farmer. So how can we use technology to at least mitigate the effect of this dramatic, disaster-related climate effect here. Your program is about, I like because it is about, there's the word challenge in there. How do you work with the agricultural sector in terms of bringing technology into the picture?
I think as you rightly said, agriculture is a big part of our economy. We face a lot of challenges. Irrigation system remain limited for our farmers. And urbanization, which mean require more food for the people and less people working in the rural area. So these are all the problems that we are facing our farmers. But technology can play a big part. For example, as you mentioned, climate change causing negatively to rainfall, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So technology can, for example, there is a technology called drip irrigation system that can be used to reduce the loss of waters. So you can have a small drip irrigation system that can manage the water properly.
I heard long time ago the Israeli perfect that technique, right?
That is basically coming from Australia, from Israeli.
Yeah, I see.
So
is that a sophisticated thing, expensive?
It is very basic. It is not expensive, but requires some level of maintenance.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be sophisticated maintenance, but you need to do it on a regular basis. For example, you need to manage the water flow properly. You need to manage the circuit so that it doesn't got stuck with some dust and so on. And other technology, for example, there is a sensor. A small sensor developed where you can use to test the water, the level of water that need to be maintained, the feed that is needed for a certain size of ponds.
Yes.
So these are kind of technology that can be used to mitigate some of those issues we face.
Marc, it's quite interesting. You using technology experience in setting up TV station studio, which is all about technology. Let's be real about it, right? How do you shift from a broadcasting technology to apply into the agricultural sector? How do you shift that? I'm just curious.
Well, myself and my own function at the company is not such a big change, to be honest, because when you making films or when you're directing films, which I did before, or setting up television stations, you always have to have a helicopter perspective and manage the team.
Okay, now we call drone perspective.
We're looking at the moving parts and directing all these things at the same time, looking at where do we put the teams, what do we, have clients to seek, and what kind of products do we license, and how do we generally direct the whole thing.
Yes.
And I'm not a farmer, I'm not an agronomist. I have learned a lot in the past about agriculture, but I'm working with the experts in the field who are the specialists about soil science, about the various technologies that we apply. But in farming, as you mentioned, broadcasting and farming, the word technology can be misleading. It's not necessarily about a technological handset, or yes, we have sensors, we have high-tech agricultural developments that are very interesting. But in most of the times, it's really how you grow the things. And if you design a cropping system, that's also called technology.
Yes.
But if you want to mitigate climate changes, for example, rainfall patterns, you, instead of just growing one crop, you grow 2 or 3 or 4.
You mean alternate cropping?
Intercropping, alternate cropping. So if, depending on the water usage and all these things, so you also minimize or you split the risk. Because if one crop fails, not necessarily all crops fail.
Yeah.
And that's also called a technology.
Sambath, Cambodia, we have the Great Lake, okay? We have the Mekong River. We have many sort of like a small river and stream there. Do we have an issue with water? For agricultural purpose, of course.
Right. I think we still have the issue of water for the person, because agriculture is done everywhere across the country, not just those areas around the Lesa Lake. And so I think we still face that issue, but I think again technology can address some of those issues. For example, let me talk a bit how the Mekong Agri-Tech Challenge work, so that you can have an idea of what it is. So we all know that we face these certain problems in Cambodia or in the region. And so what we are doing, what Match is doing, is that we put a global call out. And then we ask for application because
people to apply, right?
Ask for the people to apply. And we structure that into two parts. The first part is what we call a homegrown technology or innovation. So we encourage those young generation who may have some idea to address those problems.
Coming worldwide?
From worldwide, but for local startup is for Cambodia only. So that's we structure into two parts. One is for local startup who may have some idea solution to that problem, and the other is called a market access kind of tracks. So we ask those technology owners from worldwide to apply through this challenge. So right now we have received about more than 100 applications right now. So we are planning to reduce down to 50, and from 50 to maybe to 20 application, what we call semi-shortlisted 20 application. Then those 20 application will be brought into a boot camp somewhere in the region.
What do you mean by boot camp?
Boot camp means that we will come together in for a couple of days somewhere. So we dedicate into that place and period of time. So at that boot camp, these 20 applications will be receiving training, providing different supports and mentoring, so that they can improve their business idea, business model, and at the same time they may be able to have the opportunity to meet with investors and policymakers and partners from different places.
Any focus when in a particular subsector in agriculture, or you pretty much broad horizon, right?
That's a very good question, because this is the first kind of activity of such a kind of project. So we open broadly right now. So application is across the board. With different technology, and the good thing is that there are some Cambodian startup who is applying for this as well.
Good. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I want to go over a bit the criteria and focus a bit our discussion, go a bit deeper here. Good. So Sambath, 100 application, you narrow down. But what is your criteria? Is that sector based? Is that technology based? Is that economic based? Entrepreneurial based? What are they?
So that's really important. So basically, we'll look at those technologies and business model through certain criteria. One is whether they have the innovative technology, whether this technology innovations, whether it's relevant to the context of Cambodia, for example, whether this is applicable to the country like Cambodia in the case of our economic structures and levels of agricultural technology here in Cambodia. Whether this is acceptable to consumer here. So these are key criteria that we are looking into those technology. Not just every technology, it has to be relevant, it has to be innovative, it has to be applicable to the country, it has to be acceptable to our consumer here. And of course produce impact.
Marc, in technology, you mentioned that technology doesn't have to be sophisticated, fancy technology. There are basic technology that are suitable to the development condition of the country. For example, Cambodia is nowhere near ready to use robotic, something like that. But in agriculture, soil matter, right? sometimes you see very dry, but then there's water under, and sometimes it's vice versa. How do you use technology, just for example, to know whether the soil is suitable to for a certain crop?
So, I mean, you can use a lot of electronic devices and technology to do soil samples, but what we do is our technology that we apply is we focus on the soil foremost, because the soil is the foundation of everything. If you have a healthy soil, you can have healthy plants and healthy crops, and the humans will be healthy too.
Yes.
If they eat the healthy crops. And what we do is we apply so-called no-till technology integrated with cover crops, meaning we don't plow the soil anymore. We don't disrupt the soil, because the soil is a living organism, and if you cut it, all these little earthworms and microorganisms that you cannot see with your own eyes, they will die, or they will dry out, or they will be leaving the soil.
Like, that's very provocative.
And so we stop to plow the soil and disturb the soil for minimal soil disturbance, and we grow crops, cover crops, in the middle of a rice cycle. Between your two rice crops, you have a certain period of time where there's nothing on the field, and then you grow the cover crops.
Give me an example of cover crop.
For example, we grow sun hemp. It's a legume, and it means it fixes nitrogen from the air and into the soil, and it's kind of free fertilizer, because you don't need to pay so much for the fertilizer.
How you call sun hemp in Khmer?
I don't know. It's the
hemp, H-E-M, right?
Sun, S-U-N-N, H-E-M-P.
Oh, H-E-M-P. Okay, well, we'll check later on, yes.
We use sorghum, we use cowpeas, we use a perennial, annual. We have a huge variety of different cover crops. Depending on the function of the crop that you want to do, you mix them, and you have many functions at the same time. So you can do root structure. Many cover crops have very long roots, up to 1 meter into the soil or even more. So that's your biological plow. You don't need to cut the soil, you don't need to put a lot of labor in.
Wow.
You let the plants do the work.
Amazing,
right?
Amazing.
So you have many different root systems, you have many different functions of these crops. They fix nitrogen, they are anti-nematodes, they're anti-bacterial, anti-fungi. So you can create a lot of biomass above ground, and you can create biomass below ground.
In Cambodia, have you done that somewhere else? Because it reminded me when I was working in Geneva, because I live in Geneva, but then in Swiss side, right? But then when you drive to Geneva, you go to France, it's a countryside. And during the whole year, right, you keep seeing different crop. That same farm that you drive by, 3 months later they have something else. 3 months later they have something else. So that's probably what you're talking about. So it's not a new revelation, right? It's not been applied in Cambodia, no?
It's an old technology that has been developed for many, many years, and we have experts and so-called the father of the ideas too, one of the first people who managed to come up with these technologies, and they have been refined over the years. In Cambodia, there has been done a lot of research on this. The GDA are very good in this. They have been working on the longest serving no-till plot in Southeast Asia, here in Kompong Cham in Bok Nor Station. So Cambodia is very at the forefront of this technology in the region. However, the problem is always with the public sector, that they need more help in order to be able to roll out this kind of new technology.
But can it be, Sambath, back to you, right? I mean, can it be private sector driven? To me, I have no issue with the public sector, okay? But I think the dynamism of the Cambodian economy is all about the entrepreneurship. It's all about the business sector who are always innovative, right? Your program, would such a scheme like that, fit into it?
I think exactly. We are talking about technology, but technology can be basic technology, it can be traditional technology, it can be a modern technology.
Yes.
But as you said, private sector is playing very important role. Just one example, we talk about extension service to
Yes.
farmer.
Yes.
Traditionally, we only depend on the government who provides extension service to farmers.
Give me some example of extension service.
For example, farmer need to know how to manage the input properly, to put the input. When I grow vegetable, for example, what are the types of fertilizer used? How can I use it? When do I need to use it? If I raise a fish in a pond, for example, what level of feed can be used for that pond?
You cannot just throw the feed there.
So these are the kind of extension service.
So I'm not that educated in that side. So you mean if you throw too much feed, the fish it just wasted?
Just wasted, pollute the water, sometimes kill the fish.
Is that right?
Yeah. So technology, a small sensor can just put into the water. The sensor can tell you at this quality level you need to use certain level of feed. You need to maintain a certain level of water quality, for example. And that can be, private sector can play a very important role in that aspect, in using that technology. Even train farmer how to use the input properly.
Yeah.
Private sector is doing that as well right now. So when they are selling the input to farmer, at the same time they provide certain technical support to farmer.
Yes. And that's what we call extension service.
Extension service being provided by the private sector right now.
Yeah. Marc, why can you not roll out to the private sector?
No, that's what I'm saying. We are the private sector.
Okay.
That's why we're rolling it out. We are the driver
Yeah.
because the public sector alone cannot do it.
Yes.
Has been trying in the past
Yes,
and
yes.
the extension services that you mentioned.
Yes.
But we saw the opportunity here to start up a company, a private company, to be able to roll out these new technologies that have been tested and proven over many years now, and have been proven effective, very effective, because they basically do two things. They work for you, the plants, you put them to work, they work for you, but you also manage to save farmers money that way. And the only way to make farmers more money at the beginning is you have to keep them the money in their pockets. You have to save them the money because they're all in debt. And if you're looking at the average smallholder farmer in Cambodia, you see they're on average $3,000 in debt, meaning they're completely trapped. So if you would suggest something new to them, they would immediately say, no,
I can't afford it.
What should I do?
Afford
No, there's nothing I can do. So the only way to give them a way out, basically, is to save them money. So they can save investments. The production costs are lower in the way we farm. You spend money on the seeds for cover crops. We come in with a consultancy. We produce the seeds, we bring them the seeds, and then we help them implement the new system on their fields.
Sambath, for your Mekong Agri-Tech Challenge, you have narrowed down already some of the potential thing. In terms of technology, you mentioned that you welcome innovative technology, that sort of thing. But market access, have you considered market access?
So that's really important as well. It's part of this, the whole process of this Mekong Agri-Tech Challenge is providing support across the board.
Okay.
So when these let's say when these 20 applications, we'll select maybe 6 each from the market access tracks.
Yes.
3 from each market access track and startup track.
Yes.
So 6 of them will become the finalists. So when they are selected, they will be given opportunity to pitch and present their technology and business model at the big event. For example, we are talking about sending them to Singapore to present their in front of policymaker and investors, so that they have market and investment opportunity. But at the same time, for example, those finalists, if they would like to look for market opportunity in Cambodia, Vietnam, and Laos, and Myanmar, then we'll help facilitate them to find a market and a partner here as well.
Good. Well, we'll take a final break, and when we come back, we can go a little bit deeper on this sort of market access. But I want to look a bit more on how your program, if there is any opportunity to also help this younger startup company to benefit from this technology that are award-winning, for example. Okay? Yeah. But you talk about helping them to have market access to our country and a few other countries in the sub-region, which is great. But with market access, I think it's important that you also help the local startup to be able to benefit also from this innovative technology that you find it useful.
So yes, so we do understand that the startup may need more support and handholding than those technology owner from other country. So we structure our support into two ways. For those technology owner from outside the country, we have facilitate connection and networking with different market opportunity in this 4 countries in the Mekong region. But for startup, of course, we feel that they need more support. For example, when they are selected, then they will be given a certain period of training, mentoring, and different support to improve their business model, to improve their technology, so that they can be able to upgrade to a certain level where they can compete and access to the market properly. So again, we of course we do understand that there is more support for the local entrepreneur and startup than those market access.
Let me ask you, perhaps from your exposure with the local community, what is your feeling about their level of sophistication, their level of readiness in terms of technology absorption? Where are they in a 1 to 10?
I think the good thing is that they are emerging strongly in our country. There are a lot of startups coming up strongly. But between 1 to 10, I think they are, of course, they are very across the board, but maybe somewhere around 5 or 6.
Okay.
And
so we pass the average.
Exactly. So around average. But the good thing is that they are passionate. They have the passion. They are emerging strongly in our country.
Well, I think one of the great, I would say, asset is that we're dealing with a young population, very, I would say, craving for knowledge. Right. They want to learn, they want to catch up. The absorptive capacity is quite strong.
Right.
So we're okay in that sense, right?
Right. So yeah, if I could add, so when you talk about young entrepreneur, young generation, it is our privilege that we are able to work with the Young Entrepreneur Association in Cambodia.
Yes.
So they are very dynamic. They are, creative, and they are open to inputs and suggestions. So it is our great opportunity that we have been working with them so far to implement MBI activity and other, not only just agriculture, but other activity as well under MBI.
I want to throw one question for both of you, and then feel free to step in. To me, it's great to have technology, it's great to have innovation, but to me it's all about scalability if you are to make an impact on the economy per se, right? Agriculture is still we're about 80-85% now of our economy still there. So that's massive, right? If you can move up the productivity, you can roll out to the private sector, a lot of stuff that you talk about. In your program, you have ambition in terms of scalability?
I think maybe I didn't mention that, but it's part of our key criteria for those technology. So one of the criteria is the scalability of those technologies. So that's really important. It has to be scalable, otherwise we cannot produce impact.
Yes.
So yes, it is important. Scalability is important. We would need to make sure that technology or business model, or it has to be able to scale up to a certain level where more benefit can be produced to the society and the economy.
Marc, you have an awesome, I would say, time-tested, proven basic technology for this no-till thing. Any idea how you intend to scale across the country?
Oh yes, certainly. I mean, it's a difficult one because scaling up is an experiment, and it's a expertise in itself. You have it's a different thing if you test something on 2 hectares and then suddenly you want to roll it out. So what we need is a different working together with different parts. We need to work with the farmers, obviously. We need to work with service providers. We need to work with public sector support in order to be able to provide enough seeds, to provide enough machinery, and to provide enough consultancies for the people to be able to implement these new learned things of how they manage simple tools, how they manage the water, how they manage the fertilizer, and how they reduce the chemicals they use on their fields. Because the moment you use the chemical, the cycle starts, and you will be in this vicious cycle. You're stuck in this, so you need to buy more chemical fertilizer to get more yield. The soil gets destroyed and
so
dies.
The trick is how to reverse that
the vicious cycle,
vicious into a virtuous cycle,
and how to make the production sustainable. Because the problem is the sustainability. It's not so much the scalability, but how do you grow something in a sustainable way, meaning you're not going to go down in your yields and use more and more fertilizer and lose all your money, go bankrupt.
Yes. How is the government, the Ministry of Agriculture, how are they sort of like cooperating or reacting or supporting your model?
At the moment they have their research stations, as I said, in Boknor. And
so you do work with them?
I mean, yes, sure. We know them. We cooperate with them. There is pilot projects working and going on in Battambang that I know about, and these things from CASC at the GDA.
Yes.
They have been doing this pilot project for many years, and this is why I say the tests. I mean, the technology has been tested and proven, and it's ready to be rolled out. And this is how we have to find a financial model that it can work to be able to implement on a bigger scale. And Cambodia is an ideal country for that because it is a poverty reducing technology. It will increase the livelihoods of the farmers that they so bitterly need, and it will work for big agribusinesses the same. That's why it's scalable and important to be scalable.
Sambath, who are you working with? What ministry, what agency supporting your initiative?
So basically, agriculture is supposed to be Ministry of Agriculture. Yes. In particular, in the area of technical support.
Okay.
So we mostly work with the private sector right now. Okay. So because technology are being produced by the private sector, and the startup are coming from the young generation. But of course, we cannot avoid. We need to partner. We need to cooperate with the government.
Yes.
Ministry of Agriculture in particular.
Yeah. Well, I think from our short discussion, it's clear that the role of technology is definitely there. We have to embrace it. I think last year when Cambodia hosted the World Economic Forum, our Prime Minister has sort of like highlight the need to embrace the fourth industrial revolution. But I think many people think the fourth industrial revolution more to the big robotic, that sort of thing. For Cambodia, I would say we're not there yet, and your incubator program is sort of like the initial platform for people to move into that. And what better to start is with the agriculture sector, because the impact is just huge, particularly for a country where predominantly our economy is still agriculture based, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And right now in the region, Vietnam and Thailand and Malaysia, they are adopting new technology. So we need to catch up with them.
Yes.
And we need to apply technology that have improved productivity, improve efficiency, networking, connection with different partner and investors. So we need to apply this technology.
Yes. I want to take this opportunity to invite you both to ANZ CDI Annual Outlook Conference. I hope you receive an invitation already. If not, you text me.
Sure.
Because this year the theme is focused on technology, innovation, science, and our Prime Minister, Sambath will be for the 12th year in a row.
Great.
Will give a keynote address to set the stage on how he see Cambodia embracing technology for that, and I think it will be a good opportunity to sort of like get some political impetus behind, right?
Exactly.
I think Cambodia, it's very important that you get the political support,
yeah.
particularly for things that required some policy adjustment, right?
Right.
And I'm not so sure that policy-wise we have been able to recognize at such a micro level, right? I think, yes, the broad policy framework is there, the technology, the STEM, science, that sort of thing. And Dr. Naron, the Minister of Education, is quite forceful on pushing STEM education at a much younger age. So I think, in terms of scalability, in terms of sustainability, perhaps you can also reach out to have a sort of program, awareness program.
Exactly.
for university, not yet university, but high school level, so that they say, oh my God, if I study science,
you get this opportunity.
Yes. Rather than going to study the easy subject like management, accounting, law, economists.
Exactly.
There's not enough job for economists. Okay, you okay? But gentlemen, I think we have a good dialogue so far. Perhaps I give you 1 minute each to have a short message. What do you want the audience to remember you?
So 2 messages. One is for our young generation. So when you think about agriculture, it's not just about dirty hand. It's not about work in the field. You can produce technology for agriculture. You can be a technology owner and work in agriculture. And for our farmer, for our business people, especially our farmer, you should think about commercialization of your product, not just for farming for subsistence. You need to think about doing business with your farm. You need to think about technical support. You need to think about technology that can improve your productivity. So not just about subsistence farming, but think about doing business with your farm.
Thanks, Marc.
I think the most important message is that we managed to get this agricultural system to produce food in a clean way and in a sustainable way. And we are at Smart Agro, we managed to do that. We came up with a technology that saves costs and raises living standards for farmers and manages to produce the whole value chain organically, 100% natural, from crop production to food processing to food preservation. We have natural preservatives that we can add that make organic food last longer, and so people are able to sell it for longer and not waste so much. And this way we can turn this into a sustainable way and also a sustainable business model this way. And this would mean that farmers don't have so much headaches and nightmares anymore.
Sambath, thank you so much for sharing your program. Marc, thank you. Well, we're coming to the end, and I just want to say something that Sambath has quite eloquently put into 2 messages. Don't think that technology, is only for the fintech, it's only for the banker. Technology is also very helpful, if not needed, to help boost the productivity of the country. And think of agriculture as a business, not just a subsistence farming. And this is quite a big challenge for the government to start changing that paradigm, Sambath. And of course, Marc, I think you have elaborated quite extensively how the use of technology can improve productivity, that sort of thing. So I hope you can learn something from this short discussion, and I'm pretty sure if you want to know more about the program that Sambath is running, you can go to the website, right? You have a website, right?
Mekong, mbi.org.
mbi.org. So on that note, good night.